Okay, great. I think we're live streaming. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our talk today. My name is Zerlina Viliami. I am the founder president of Oxford Contemporary Opera. And today we're doing an opera talk which is slightly different from usual. So we are here to introduce Opera for One, which is our virtual opera that we have commissioned. We've got 5 songs, all based on the different stages of grief that we've commissioned by composers, librettists, and we've also got some artwork based in the video. Here today, we have some amazing team with us to talk about the different songs. So I'm just going to be handing over to the different people just to talk for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we can all tune into the premiere together. So let's start with Toby, who has composed song number 1, which is based on Denial.
Yeah, so I'm Toby. I composed the first song of the cycle, the theme of Denial, in collaboration with Cyrus Larkham-Moore. I was quite lucky in that I actually already knew Cyrus before we began working together. And in typical Cyrus fashion, he bashed out the libretto in about 2 days. It's just incredible. And he sent it over to me. And so from then on, the process for me was quite straightforward. I had a couple of calls with him just to work out, a couple of what he meant in a couple of places. And then as I started to set the words properly, we edited some lines together, and I took a few lines out, added a few different ones just to help with word setting and that sort of thing. The real challenge was actually when we cast the singer and started working with the singer, and because I had the wonderful Lorelei singing my song, and I didn't quite write perfectly for her voice, so we had to change a couple of things here and there just to make so the effect would be exactly what I wanted and what Cyrus wanted. And I also had the quite unique pleasure of also performing all of the songs on the piano, accompanying them all. So I got to see everyone else's before I actually finished mine, which helped a lot with making the song a lot more cohesive as a start for the entire cycle as a whole. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Let's go to Oliver, who's talking about Anger, and he is the librettist of this song.
Hi, I'm Oliver, and I really got into poetry over the last year of lockdown, and I've transformed that into like the libretto for this. I work with Lauren Marshall, who's an incredibly talented composer at Harvard, and she really wanted to go for something very experimental with this, and really push the sort of bounds of what's possible vocally. And I have to say, like what came out of it was incredibly impressive. And I think writing something very simple and like something very visceral to go with like the experimentalism of what she's achieved in the composition, which is really rewarding. And I'm just been so excited to compose for this, and we kind of take this anger sort of part in, part outside, like the concept of grief, kind of atomize it as its own sort of emotional expression whilst like relating it to the rest of the cycle and this like very visual stage. So I think I'm very proud of what Lauren has done. I'm just very excited for we're about to see it.
Great, thanks. Let's go to song number 3, which is Bargaining, and we've got Dan with us, who's written the music.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dan, and I've worked with Tamsin Chandler on this Bargaining song. The bargaining stage of grief, as far as I can tell, is one that is described quite variously, but a lot of it seems to be to do with saying sort of, what if this, and if only that, if only we'd done something differently. I think I would say I had slightly the opposite experience to Toby of this kind of collaboration, in that I had a real roller coaster of working with people that I've never met in real life, and it was an interesting challenge in some ways. And certainly the sort of final libretto came came out of quite difficult to go back and forth between Tamsin and me trying to work this out over Facebook Messenger. But what we've come up with is this lady who's lost a loved one and has a kind of delusion that or not a delusion, but well, yeah, I mean, it is a delusion, an idea that these romantic ideas about things that they could have done together and that somehow if they'd done these more perfect things, if they'd had like more of a chance to have a relationship that was more beautiful, you know, kind of very in a quite superficial way, really, then somehow she could be more at peace with the fact that it was over. I think it was a very interesting thing to be able to write music for, and I've had a wonderful time doing it and working with Lily as well.
That's great. I'm really glad to hear it. Let's turn to song number 4, which is called Depression, and we've got Joshua, the composer, with us.
Hi, I'm Josh. So I was working with Georgina Lloyd Owen, who kind of constructed this amazing libretto, which kind of draws on Ferlinghetti and on Beckett, and then we kind of wrote the music very collaboratively. So it was a wholly kind of unified project throughout. I mean, we kind of started the process by kind of meeting and just talking about what, for us, depression might mean and how we might think about depression. And I think it was quite clear quite quickly that we were kind of focused on this idea of feeling trapped and on the emotional weight of depression, how it can make things feel so kind of futile. And yet we still wanted to write something that is musically engaging, that isn't just kind of grey and constantly bleak, but still kind of tells a narrative and develops a story. I mean, with regards to the process, I kind of, after Georgina put the libretto together, I then kind of drafted the first half of the song, and immediately I found myself kind of writing quite fragmentary vocal lines. Even when things started to get into kind of bigger lyrical lines going some way, it would then kind of just fail and fall back into this depressive state. And so we get this kind of pervasive cyclical kind of repetition that really runs through the whole song. Having drafted that first half, I then met with Georgina and with Edwin, our fantastic singer, to kind of talk it through. And we, even at that stage, it was really kind of clear that they both had strong opinions about how to change the music, how to improve it, and also how ways to kind of develop the text as we were going forwards, and how we might think about what we were trying to achieve in setting the fantastic libretto. So we then divvied up the final 2 quarters of the piece between Georgina and I, and wrote one each. And then again, as with everyone, I'm sure, kind of met on several long Zoom calls and tried to kind of hash it out over the internet. So it was a really totally collaborative process. It was sort of unlike anything I've done before, but in being so collaborative, hugely rewarding and enjoyable. Thank you.
That's great. And it's so interesting to hear about the collaboration between composer and librettist there. So for our final song, which is Acceptance, we've actually really luckily got Adam, our composer, and Katie, our librettist. So maybe, Katie, we could start with you to talk a bit about the song, and then Adam, you could talk about the music, and you can feed into each other's responses as well.
Yeah, so me and Adam had never met before, and we had kind of a Zoom call where we laid out our different ideas about what the theme of acceptance might be, because it felt quite different to the other stages of grief, and that it's a lot more kind of lighthearted and there's more of a sense of hope to it. So we were keen to kind of make sure we had that in our piece. And then we had like a Google Doc with lots of different ideas and things to kind of draw on from there. So once we kind of decided we wanted to focus on like clear separate images in different like stanzas of the poem. So after that, I then went away and kind of wrote the poem / libretto, and sent that to Adam, kind of talked about it a bit, and then received the first draft of music, which was really exciting to kind of see the things I've written set to music. And yeah, went from there, which is a really exciting process and nice to kind of work over the internet and still produce something together.
Yeah, I felt personally that the process was extremely collaborative. And I came up with this first draft in response to the libretto. And I wasn't very happy with it. And I sent it back to get some feedback. And Katie gave me some really useful advice. And then coincidentally, my grandma passed away right after the first draft. So I kind of had this quite kind of life imitating art experience of having to kind of rethink the composition at the same time as processing something that had happened to me. And so using Katie's advice and like my own experience, I kind of reworked things and came up with something completely new, which was really good because I'd been able to do that in response to our work together with Katie. And then when we shared it with the singer, it kind of all fell into place and very exciting. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much to everyone. For our last 1 minute, I'm just going to ask Tristan, who is one of our project managers, just a little bit. Can you tell us a bit about how you cut this together, and also tell us a bit about the artwork that's involved as well?
Yeah, the editing process was actually a really, really fun one. I was it was slightly daunting at first. I was like, how am I going to do all this? But once I got the piano tracks in from Toby, once I got the singers tracks, and I was looking through the scores, I was just like, just in awe of everything that was like going on, of the music, the words. It just all really came together, and it was just really fabulous to do. It almost took out my laptop, to be fair. It took a couple of goes at exporting overnight, but yeah, the actual final end product is really fantastic. And in between each of the songs, we've got some artwork by 3 artists. We sort of put out a call to say anyone want to commission an art, like a few pieces of art on sort of themes of grief, and the stuff that came to us was just brilliant. And you'll see that in between each of the movements, and like it's sort of juxtaposed with a bit of the music on either end. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure sort of being one of the project managers for this, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear the end product.
Yeah, definitely echo those sentiments. So that's everything we've got time for today, but thank you so much to everyone who's been involved, and thank you so much to everyone who is about to watch Opera for One. I am really excited about it, and I think it's really something special that we've managed to somehow bring together here, despite it all be done virtually, and some people have never met before, and I'm just, very, very excited. So Opera for One will be streaming on YouTube from now in the indefinite future, so be sure to check out that and our website. Thank you so much for tuning in.